Oh shit! What is happening there, Reject Nation? Rocking my Epic Hero Shop Batman shirt right now. Because we're gonna watch some new rock stars today. The Batman Easter eggs breakdown, full movie analysis, details you missed. Hey, leave a like while you can. If you're here, you're gonna stick around. You know what to do. We watched this for the third time last night at IMAX, where freaking Robert Pattinson showed up himself. That was a nice surprise. Philip Molina from New Rock Stars joined us. But he missed Robert Pattinson. He was outside in the lobby doing push-ups or something. Just can't stop working out. That freak!
Welcome back to New Rockstars. I'm Eric Voss, and this is a breakdown of The Batman, Matt Reeves' detective noir take on the Caped Crusader, also known as the world's greatest detective, in this case played by Robert Pattinson. Not always the world's greatest detective in the story, but hey, it's only his second year into it, and the movie is all the better for it. This is one of my favorite cinematic depictions of Gotham and its broken toys. There's so much to appreciate about this film, the clues Reeves hid throughout this film to set up the mystery, subtle details in the camera work and the music, and Easter eggs pointing to the broader DC universe. My favorite kind of movie to break down, and I'm gonna do it scene by scene.
Excited. Yeah, I mean, I want to just say really fast that we do have a ranking of the Batman movies coming up soon. One thing I did not mention is that I would say the Batman is actually the best looking one of them all, out of every single one. Sorry, The Dark Knight.
Oh, shots fired. But I think I would agree with you.
So the film opens with the abrupt title text of The Batman filling the screen. Actually, the way the 2019 Joker opening title text filled that screen. But here, it's kind of like one of Bruce's red-tinted snapshots taken from his eye lenses, filling all of his vision. This film constantly shows extreme close-ups of eyes and fingers, objects so close we can't really distinguish them, as well as the point of view shots from those peepers, a reflection of this film's shifting points of view that keep us guessing who the real villains of the story are. The opening shot is actually one of these POVs from under the mask of the Riddler, his breath sucking through his military cold weather mask as he peers through binoculars, a recurring voyeurism as we later see Batman doing the same thing to Selina Kyle. This opening shot is reminiscent of John Carpenter's opening point of view shots in the movie Halloween, a silent boy killer heard only by his heavy breathing from behind his mask.
Actually, the first thing I thought of, and I think you thought of too, watching this, was the movie The Conversation from Francis Ford Coppola, which has a lot of these voyeuristic qualities. When I heard Matt Reeves was saying, yeah, we take a lot of inspiration from like 70s films, at one point Conversation was dropped. When that opening popped out, I was like, oh wow, that's so literal.
Out of that movie. I mean, yeah, that whole movie starts at a telephoto lens just looking around a square.
The Riddler's gaze passes a cop guard sitting at the gate. Didn't you see, Seinfeld? You never give them a chair to sit in. There's lots of holes in the security. But then he lands on a boy dressed as
What's the deal?
Pretend killing his father before heading out to trick
League of Shadows Easter egg.
by so many Batman films to expect the first kid we see to be a young Bruce Wayne, especially since Christopher Nolan's Batman Begins explored Bruce's backstory as a ninja. But this flips the script on us, revealing it to be the son of the corrupt mayor Don Mitchell Jr. Yet still, this is a grieving boy that Batman will later feel a connection with. Now, the music over all this is Schubert's Ave Maria, sung by a boy falsetto, a recurring track setting up the Riddler's history as a choir boy orphan framed in a
That's what he's wearing.
It actually plays later at the mayor's funeral,
Yes.
again, back at the orphanage. And if you listen closely throughout this film, the composer, Michael Giacchino, uses a minor key rendition of Ave Maria as the Riddler's theme music.
We can't pause every freaking little detail, but
I'm sorry, I'll stop.
That attention to detail is so impressive. Like, everything is just so hewn, as John loves to famously say, so masterfully crafted. And the idea of that music choice, I remember hearing, going, I wonder what the choice of that was, because it does evoke a level of elegance and prestige when looking upon this mayor's household. This dude is like super freaking wealthy.
Yeah, it was like a cathedral, essentially.
Yeah, and that's kind of the vibe I was sort of getting, but then I did notice they would come back throughout the film. Yeah, that's a good personal indicator of the Riddler.
Now, opening on Halloween night is definitely a nod to the Long Halloween, the first real great Batman detective storyline from the comics, a story that ties heavily into the Falcones and the Maronis. Other comic influences were Batman Year One and Cook's Ego, both arcs you definitely want to read, but really I gotta say, way, Matt Reeves clearly made this movie its own thing, and you could just point to anything in this movie and say it was from any comic book ever, but this movie is better appreciated for its cinematic details, not as just a list of comic book Easter eggs. So that's the approach I'm gonna go in this breakdown. Because speaking of Carpenter's Halloween, there is a great Michael Myers-esque reveal of the Riddler directly behind the mayor.
Yes.
Only revealed when the TV light flickers brighter. Like Batman, the Riddler first appears to us from the shadows, but never steps out of those shadows until he is ready to kill, not giving his prey an opportunity to see him and make a different choice. Now, this Riddler look with the glasses over the mask is inspired directly from the descriptions of the Zodiac Killer, who also taunted police and the media with mysterious ciphers
and the target
in his own alphabet. He clubs the mayor with a tucker, a tool used in carpeting, proving the Riddler planned from the beginning for Batman to find this tool and use it later to uncover his home floorboards to reveal his long game to bomb the city's seawalls.
What a freaking bookend that is. You know what I learned recently is that Paul Dano, he actually like taped his whole body getting so into character.
The cling wrap,
Yeah, and that he instantly regretted it afterwards. I'd imagine how awful that is.
Oh yeah, but I love the reasoning too. Like, you know, I gotta have like my alter ego, so I can't just shave my whole body.
Yeah.
And then we jump to Halloween night from Bruce's perspective. We actually start on these weird two glowing shapes that look like eye holes from inside his Batman cowl.
Glad it's not just me.
Those are actually part of the bat signal igniting, steaming in the rain. And you'll notice this bat signal is not the clean stencil that we have seen before, but a chunk of metal jammed into the shutters.
We're so grounded.
Showing how Batman and Gordon are really in the early days of their partnership. Also reflected on the location of this bat signal in this unfinished construction site.
I actually never picked up on. I just thought it was like a good section to have a secret bat signal to a certain extent, but now it's like the physicality of it just goes to show we don't support you.
Yeah. You gotta run down under construction building that'll probably never open.
Shitty bat signal.
Then we see Gotham's Times Square region with a Gotham Empire building, a Holiday Inn Gotham, a Bank of Gotham, the Gotham Tribune, and then this screen PSA warning addiction to drops on the rise. Drops being the name of a new eye drop drug of this world. The guy who robs the store is actually wearing a green drop mask. He's a literal drop head. And this store is called Good Times Grocery, which is an Easter egg to the Robert Pattinson crime movie Good Time, which Matt Reeves said that he watched while writing the script for this movie that made him want to cast Robert Pattinson.
That's amazing.
It's almost always raining in Gotham. A detail lifted directly from the movie Seven, in which David Fincher made sure it was raining in every exterior shot in the city to show the oppressive nature of urban life. Bruce describes how the Gothamites ignore the rain, all of this rain setting up the city's eventual flooding in the third act. The more water, the more the criminals are able to overtake the city.
I love it.
Stalks this group of thugs,
I love it.
All connected.
Paint. Though you'll notice their initiate, played by Jay Lasurgo, who actually plays Tim Drake on Titans, he only has half of his face painted since he has not yet earned his full spot in the gang.
I did see, like, heavy spoilers. Paul had a thumbnail that said Future Robin on it. I wonder if that video, if he's tying it in. Paul, if you happen to watch this, comment below or shoot me a text, would you?
Now, after we saw two fake outs where criminals looked into the shadows of an alley, terrified that Batman would step out of them.
One of my favorite parts.
He does here on the train platform. Giacchino's score evokes John Williams' Imperial March for Darth Vader. And Batman's entrance here
the funeral march
recalls Darth Vader's first arrival through the smoke in A New Hope. By the way, the cinematographer on this movie was Greg Fraser, who also DP'd Rogue One, which had its own iconic Darth Vader shots. And he introduces himself.
And he did Dune 2. For our Batman opening sketch, since we had to really remember all the moves, I'd seen that moment so many times that every time I watch this movie, I'm so distracted because I'm going, the sound effects are different.
Yeah.
They're not the same.
No, they're not.
He doesn't even have that yell when his arm cracked. And also in the trailer, they cut away to the reaction after he punches him down. But in the movie, it's all one shot.
Yeah.
Until he says, I'm vengeance, and then they cut. I'm vengeance.
Yes. Now, this is a year 2 Batman, still getting his name out there. And he's actually called Vengeance more often than he's called Batman in this movie. Also, I am vengeance is part of his famous 3-line phrase from the Nothing to Fear episode in Batman the Animated Series.
I am vengeance. I am the night. I am Batman.
Batman. Well, I think that it's also so symbolic for him to mainly be called Vengeance because that's how people view him so much until by the end when he's viewed as a hero.
He has to arc out of that too.
Batman tases the last guy on the throat, showing that Batman's armor itself must be electro-proof, setting up how he survives getting shocked by that generator in the flooded arena in the final act. Batman joins Lieutenant Jimbo at the mayor's crime scene, showing off some impressive detective skills, deducing the thumb was severed when the mayor was still alive, and noticing a bloody mark on the floor from where the murder weapon bounced over there. That even the photographer was like, oh, what's he looking at? Oh, damn, I should snap a shot of that.
Love that detail.
He does live up to his title of the world's greatest detective, but I would argue in this film, he's actually not yet that much of a detective. He makes some crucial errors, but it makes for a much better story, especially for someone at the beginning of his career in vigilantism. On the walls are
Still
newspapers
investigating.
celebrating the mayor's Maroney drug bust, referring to the gang of Sal Maroney, rivals to the Falcones. The whole thing we later learn in the movie, a total sham.
I imagine that the Maronis and the Falcone family, that'll all be explored thoroughly in the Gotham PD series. That was interesting. We don't ever see anything about Maroni, but this movie does no flashbacks.
At all.
Not a single flashback in this movie, yeah.
Newspapers also include a subtler headline about the city's seawall construction problems, teasing the Riddler's final plan to target those seawalls. And then this clue.
From your secret friend, who haven't a clue. Let's play a game. Just me and you.
This card with the skeleton saying "from your secret friend" was modeled directly on the real-life card sent by the Zodiac to San Francisco Chronicle reporter Paul Avery that had a skeleton saying "from your secret pal." The riddle is, what does a liar do when he's dead? Answer, he lies still, is decodable using the same double letter technique cited by Robert Graysmith in the Zodiac film.
What's the most common double consonant in the English language? The double L. And what's the one word that we know that he'll use in here at least once? Kill.
You'll notice how later Alfred will try using the same technique to mark off all the double O's before Bruce realizes that eliminating the 6 letters that they were given spells out the Riddler's favorite Ryan Gosling movie. From the crime scene, the music shifts to Nirvana's Something in the Way, with Kurt Cobain's lyrics reflecting this grunge take on Batman from Robert Pattinson, a guy who wishes he was homeless and feels more comfortable on the streets at night. But also, as the final track on Nirvana's Nevermind album, it actually precedes a secret track that comes after 10 minutes of silence called Endless Nameless. So this recurring track in the movie is really the something in the way of Bruce's true mindset, as he is a detective masking a secretly violent monster underneath that layer. Cobain's lyrics also reference the animals I've trapped, referring to the past criminals that Batman has caught in these first 2 years, and how the Riddler literally traps animals in cages for Batman to find.
If you told me like a couple of years ago that they'd be playing Something in the Way in a Batman movie, I'm like, I don't know about that, but it works so well here. What I was learning recently is that a big part of why Matt Reeves wanted Robert Pattinson was that while writing it, when listening to Nirvana, he was reading up on Kurt Cobain and how Kurt Cobain, you know, obviously wanted to be this like great artist and make a difference. The last thing he wanted was any fame. That made him think of like Robert Pattinson, who like wants to be a great actor but doesn't really want to deal with the fame side of things, when he started applying that to Bruce Wayne. And why for this one, going down the more reclusive route with Bruce Wayne, he went, hey, he's kind of like Kurt Cobain, kind of like Robert Pattinson, wants to be Batman, do the work, but he doesn't want any of the public spotlight on him.
Right as Bruce arrives in his Batcave, the old Wayne Tower subway station of Wayne Terminus, we hear Cobain singing, "Underneath the bridge, tarp has sprung a leak." Another indication that the flood is coming. A flood that probably will actually flood this whole Batcave.
I love that.
There's another line about like the animals becoming his friends.
Bruce's moody voiceover has actually been his journal entry in a notebook labeled Gotham Project, framing this Batman as a young physician experimenting with different cures for the city. A doctor like his father.
That's a good interpretation.
Who approaches the ills of the city as a forensic accountant, looking for and diagnosing redundancies, where the numbers don't add up, but not prescribing true cures to those discrepancies. His first entry in this film is the night of Thursday, October 31st, and in the epilogue after the flood, it's the morning of Wednesday, November 6th, meaning the whole movie transpires in about 6 to 7 days, but it is the dawn of the 7th day. In Genesis, it took God 7 days to create the universe, but since we are right on the border between that 6th and 7th day, the 6th day is when God created man. We haven't fully gone through that 7th day yet, a way of showing how in this movie, we have not yet fully acquired that that seventh day of rest, there's still work to be done. When Bruce joins
Gotta create Batman.
I love that.
at the morning sunlight and has to put on sunglasses as he is a self-described nocturnal animal who's getting too accustomed to seeing nighttime prey through his special lenses. Kind of like Morpheus' line in The Matrix. His eyes hurt because he's never really used them.
Oh, it's so funny.
Here on the ground floor, there's actually a bust of William Shakespeare, which could be a possible nod to the 60s Adam West Batman when the Batcave was accessed by a button hidden in Shakespeare's bust. Then in the mayor's garage, Batman knows which car to check from the shears in the tire left there by the Riddler. The shears probably used to sever the mayor's thumb, which is why Batman then looks for a USB thumb drive port. Thumb drive. And they say this movie doesn't have jokes. Batman fights his
That was really fun.
Praise the nose of the moonlighting cop named Bill Kenzie, who's actually a narco from the Gotham Central comics. And Batman meets Oz Cobblepot, the Penguin. There's a great visual exchange here where he sees Selina Kyle boots first, and then as Selina exchanges cash for drops with Oz, Selina quickly recognizes Annika from the photos, which Batman notices, and then later, after talking to Oz, he sees the same boots on Annika in the photo, so knows for sure that the two must be involved somehow. But then my favorite detail in this movie comes right after this. As they exit the lounge, we're outside, and the upper corner of the frame, there's a lit window showing a silhouette, snapping photos of the lounge entrance. This is the Riddler.
Oh shit!
Only 30 minutes into the film, folks. But this isn't revealed and confirmed until 2 hours later that Nashton's home is across the street from the lounge. And you'll notice this is in a hotel lit in a green neon sign.
That was worth it for the video alone. Holy crap.
Oh, wow. Great detail.
Oh,
Production
man.
Detail.
If that's confirmed, I hope Matt Reeves watches this video, Eric. That is brilliant. That is like a comic book, man.
Next time I watch it, I'm gonna be looking out for specifically that.
This is under our noses from the beginning of the film. I love it. Then after sparring with Selina, Batman finds her overdue electric bills that list Selina's address as Queen Street in Gotham, US. There's no state listed because throughout the comics of the films, Gotham's exact location in the United States tends to shift around. The news reports Commissioner Savage's murder, his head in a cage fed to snarling rats, a detail from George Orwell's 1984 when Winston is tortured in room 101 with his head in a similar rat cage. Then when examining his body, Batman and Gordon look at the Riddler's rat maze with a new cipher in a linear path. In a tray is a second riddle, this time a purple envelope with a card showing a mad scientist pouring chemicals. I'm mad about you. Want to know my name? Just look inside and see. And then inside an explosion with, but wait, I cannot tell you, that might spoil the chemistry. Of course, teasing the Riddler rigging up a bomb for the DA. And at the bottom he writes, follow the maze till you find the rat. Bring him into the light. You'll find where I'm at. Batman then teams up with Selina so that she wears his recording lenses to scan VIPs in the club. Here she meets DA Gil Coulson, and as she talks with him, her red wig contrasts with the blue light on his face, which gets colors to get mirrored at the end of the night when the Riddler straps the neck bomb to him in the car, which Reeves and Fraser keep way out of focus, just flashing blue and red lights, evoking a police squad car. Ironic for him being the arm of the law, but now facing justice for his own corruption. I also really like the detail of Coulson having to wipe the steam off the windshield since Riddler had been sitting in this parked car all night, steaming it up. And as the camera pulls back from this attack, it's all framed with a Gotham seawall in the foreground, the waves right up to the top, super high tide from all this rain, marking this street corner as one of the targets of the Riddler's later detonations.
Oh, neat. You know what I love so much about this movie? It gave me a performance from an actor who I generally just don't like for some irrational reason. I've years been like, I do not like this actor. And then in this movie, I was like, he's really good.
One of the first things we talked about on the first screening is Peter Sarsgaard,
He
right?
knows what he's doing, man. He's great.
Alfred has translated the maze cipher to, you are El Rata Alada, saying that the Spanish isn't perfect since, as Oz later points out, Rata Alada is a Spanish feminine noun and adjective, meaning it should have the pronoun of la, not el. A clue, of course, setting up the wordplay of URL. Also, perhaps a nod to the spelling and grammatical mistakes throughout the Zodiac's letters and ciphers, which some code breakers believe may have actually been intentional. Probably not, but most of these criminals think they're smarter than they are. Alfred gives Bruce Thomas's Wayne family cufflinks a W with a curved line through it, which visually matches the designs that the Riddler used for many of his symbols. Hard lines with curved S shapes or question mark shapes snaking through them. At the mayor's funeral, Bruce gets met with paparazzi. Now later in the Riddler's home, there's a newspaper clipping wall of a past Bruce Wayne tabloid photo with a smiling face behind behind him that matches the smile of Barry Keoghan, who plays the Joker in one of the final scenes. Now, I didn't see Barry Keoghan in this mob, but I just love the idea that he might have stalked Bruce as one of these photographers in the past, similar to how John Doe in Seven cameoed in plain sight earlier in the film as a paparazzo.
You know what I love about that wall? It's a room full of cops. Batman's looking upon it. The wall is clearly saying, hey, Riddler's figured out that Bruce Wayne and Batman are one and the same. And no one bothers to go, what's he trying to, I think with all of this connecting
Look at those jaw lines really quick. What's going on?
Who is Batman? He's got photos of Bruce Wayne.
I know who you really are.
At one point, Jeffrey Wright should just turn him in. Are you Bruce Wayne?
That's where you get all your money and resources from.
Inside, a young man tries to sneak past the barrier before getting caught, and Bruce chats with another angry father, glad that the mayor's dead. Both of these men are wearing dull green jackets. And I think they were both among Riddler's followers who later attacked the rally. Actually, that angry dad is definitely the same guy who later gets unmasked on the catwalk and says he's vengeance.
Oh, shit.
But the funeral gets interrupted.
That's a neat detail. Damn. Thought it was a different actor.
I love how for all this we stay inside the church. We only hear the faint engine revs, the screams, the dull pops of the gunshots, all growing louder and louder until the SUV crashes in. You'll notice the Riddler painted the letters DOA on the car, a joke for the DA being DOA, dead on arrival. And using a neck bomb this way may be inspired by the horrible incident involving Brian Wells in 2003. Very complex plot that involved theft and blackmail. I'd recommend a documentary I saw on Netflix about that, but I hate that documentary because it showed the death with zero trigger warning. Netflix, can you please just put a little trigger warning before that part happens?
I saw it.
Anyway, Bruce recorded this Batman to claim his third riddle, now in a yellow envelope. In these trying times, never forget, I'm just a phone call away. And then he wrote ring, 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 ring dozens of times. You'll notice the text gets more and more crammed in toward the bottom of the card. The Riddler's live stream includes comments egging the Riddler on, including one that says, hope it's a dud and we gotta do it all again Tuesday. A clue for how the Riddler actually plans to blow up a seawall on Tuesday, election day.
Oh my God, what a detail! What a detail! Give me the detail! What a great
Every
detail!
comment.
Oh shit! And I'm always trying to read that
Yeah.
stuff, and it usually I've never seen that before. I'm like, oh, what a great clue! Well, his followers are the ones involved in the action at the end in Madison Square, not Madison Square Garden,
Gotham Square.
Gotham Square Garden, yeah.
Garden, yeah.
Gotham Gardens.
Square Garden or Square Park? I'm not sure.
I don't know. We're a bunch of idiots here.
We're fake fans.
Others diss Batman, screw the poser in black, I need more Riddler. And what if that's body armor? Think it'll save him from the blast? Indeed, it totally does. The Riddler asks,
It can be cruel, poetic, or blind, but when it's denied, it's through violence you may find justice.
The answer's justice.
second riddle,
If you are justice, please do not lie. What is the price for your blind eye?
he's referring to the cost of Coulson's
take is
bribes,
different,
which
too.
Apparently it's $10,000 a month not to prosecute certain cases, which brings us to the third riddle. Since your justice is so select, please tell us which vermin you're paid to protect. But because Coulson will not give up the rat, Batman clashes with the GCPD, but Gordon helps him escape with a dramatic leap off the tower and wingsuit glide. But the part of the L train that he clotheslines is actually right next to that neon green hotel sign. So this is right where the Riddler lives. He probably saw all of this go down. Now, suspecting the Penguin is the winged rat, they follow into a drug deal at the recycling plant, leading to this shootout and chase. This movie's Batmobile fires up. It's a true muscle car with an exposed engine, flames bursting out the side of the undercarriage like Batman himself. He's ready to explode. This street chase is some of the best action filmmaking I have seen. Reeves and Fraser mount the cameras on the sides of the cars to make
Such
us
a
feel
good
like
choice.
we're looking through the side view mirror, or we're in the back seat looking out. Meanwhile, the music that Giacchino uses here interrupts his main Batman theme with rapid percussive breaks. so that we only hear the charging theme when the Batmobile gains on the Penguin. Also, they thump into barrels, which syncs perfectly with the percussion. They pass under some highway signs with DC references. The Gotham docks are freight docks used by organized crime in the games. Robinson Park is a poor neighborhood in Gotham City where Selina Kyle lived during the No Man's Land storyline. Tri-Corner Yards refers to the Tri-Corner. It's a triangle-shaped island on the south side of Gotham where the GCPD is located in No Man's Land. And then Hinckley River could refer to South Hinckley, a downtown borough in the Gotham Knight anthology film and a location in Dark Knight Rises. And
Yeah,
the
maybe.
chase reaches its climax.
I got you! I got you!
As Batman approaches Oz, we see him framed upside down in the fire, upside down, like a bat hanging from above. And I love this. After they interrogate the Penguin, he waddles after them with his ankles bound, moving just like a penguin does.
Doesn't Colin Farrell kind of remind you of like Robert De Niro in that scene? Yeah.
What are you showing me? Come on.
What are you doing?
Yeah, he's got that like facial rubberiness.
A bit of an Al
De Niro.
Capone Untouchables vibe to him too. It's like that's where he's going to be ascending to.
But the Riddler lures them back into the orphanage that Thomas Wayne donated to the city, but since his renewal fund was emptied, it fell to ruin. A projector shows Thomas's mayoral campaign announcement beside a group of choir boys, one of whom was Edward Nashton. And I like how when Bruce realizes he is the next target, the Riddler's previous two riddles come back to haunt him. The woman picking up the phone and the old man blowing up. Alfred opening up the explosive package and Dory answering the phone to tell him he was too late. As Bruce tries to figure all
That
this
is gnarly.
out,
Excellent
the evidence on the
catch.
floor, an overhead shot positions him at the center of all this evidence as his dual roles as both the Wayne heir and Batman make him really the center of the Riddler's plot, more center than even the Riddler realizes. Selina reveals Falcone is her father, as has been the case in the comics, and Bruce sees the Riddler's latest video detailing the histories of the Wayne and the Arkham families, how reporter Edward Elliot uncovered the secret of Martha's parents.
Is this a Hush
suicide,
reference?
leading to her being in and out of Arkham for years. She was actually the heiress of the Arkham family. Riddler wrote over this the word hush, referring to Thomas's hush payments on this story, but also a clear nod to the Batman Hush storyline, another great detective mystery that also features Batman and Catwoman romantically involved, while the Riddler orchestrates this plot from behind bars. That reporter's name being Edward Elliot could be a nod to the great grandfather of Thomas Elliot, aka Hush, in that storyline. Thomas's cease and desist comes from the law firm of Miller and Moore, an Easter egg to the comic writers Frank Miller and Alan Moore, who wrote what I think are the best novels, The Dark Knight Returns, and The
So
Joker,
cool.
respectively.
God.
Falcone tells Bruce
You're
that
one,
Sal
baby.
Maroni had his parents killed to keep Thomas from being a forever loyal asset to Falcone, but Alfred clarifies that Thomas was actually planning to sell out Falcone to the police on the night that they were murdered. He could just never verify if it was actually Falcone's doing. And I love
Probably
because
was.
it keeps it a mystery. Selena is able to get the truth out of Kenzie that Falcone killed Annika and that Falcone was the true winged rat being protected by city leaders and ruling over the corruption of all of Gotham, as everyone was really draining Thomas's billion-dollar renewal fund. The way this mystery unfolds in the movie parallels the movie Chinatown, which explores how the city of Los Angeles was built on corrupt dealings around the city's water infrastructure, including the twist of the top boss having a secret daughter. Batman charges in,
My
he
daughter,
stops
my
Selina
sister.
killing Falcone with an amazing hallway shot from Reeves and Fraser, lit only by the flashing of the machine guns. Just like Fraser's hallway shot in Rogue One, lit only by the lightsaber and the blasters.
And let's not forget, Matt Reeves did a similar type of shot in War for the Planet of the Apes already. Motherfucker.
Falcone gets arrested and he taunts Gordon saying, "What are you with Zorro here?" Classically, it was outside a screening of a Zorro film where Bruce's parents were killed in the comics, which is one of his inspirations to don a black mask. But the Riddler shoots Falcone dead, and Batman notices this is under a flickering street lamp, bringing the rat into the light. Also marking this spot as one of those blinking Christmas lights in the Riddler's floor mat right next to where a seawall bomb was planted. The Riddler surrenders calmly in a diner with imagery actually matching Edward Hopper's painting Nighthawks. But his surrender at the end of the film's second act, plus the police's discovery of his horror show apartment, is also directly from Fincher's Seven.
Yep,
full of
yeah,
criminals having
1000%.
thousands of pages of handwritten
Sorry.
ramblings, and John Doe surrendering to police as part of his master plan. Such is the case for the Riddler, who calmly traces a question mark in his drink. The Riddler has two IDs, one for Edward Nashton, the other for Patrick Parker. Both are known aliases of Edward Nygma in the comics. The police are able to ID Nashton as a forensic accountant, thus how he knew which city leaders were profiting from the renewal fund and whether Coulson was telling the truth about his $10,000 bribes, and why here all of his journals are written on ledgers. You'll notice a close-up of one of the pages shows entries from July reading, "I know what I must become," a line that he repeats then over and over and over below, like a student repeating a lesson as a punishment on a chalkboard. What he must become is a masked vigilante, something he learned from Batman, whom he viewed as a silent partner, someone he thought would be impressed with his work. Batman finds one more letter in a red envelope in a bat cage, a card with a proverbial monkey dancing for an organ grinder. This proves that the Riddler, at least at first, did not know Bruce Wayne and Batman were the same person. If his plan was to kill Bruce with the bomb that Alfred opened, and then for Batman to find the "See you in hell" note followed by this card, Riddler must have thought he could kill Bruce Wayne and then celebrate afterwards with Batman, a separate person. But the way the Riddler whispers his name here does make it seem for a beat that the Riddler is saying it to Batman to taunt him. But then the scene backpedals when the Riddler comes back to it saying, "Bruce Wayne, he's the only one we didn't get," which I think is a great twist, showing how the Riddler saw him and Batman working together to bring down the elites like Bruce Wayne. And he was just repeating the name out of his own personal lingering envy for the orphan who got the spotlight instead of him. But I think there is another way to read this, that perhaps after setting his plan into motion, putting those stamps on all the letters and sending them out, when Bruce Wayne ended up not dying in the explosion, the Riddler might have been able to conclude that that was because he led him that night to the orphanage, accidentally keeping his target away from harm, so that maybe now he might know that they are the same person, he's just not yet revealing that he knows, continuing to tease Batman.
See, I'm not sure. I like that they kept it a little bit ambiguous, because in that moment when he's going, "Bruce Wayne," Batman's looking down like, "I've been caught, I'm about to be exposed, there's a camera right there." And then Riddler says that line about like the one we didn't catch. But the fact that Riddler still lives, and this is only the first one in this franchise, Joker's right next door to him, makes me wonder if Riddler knows who he is, and Riddler could easily just tell like Joker that they could
Stop the rogues,
which they still can. It seems like it would be so early on to do that.
I don't know, I could make an argument either way, and the fact that Paul Dano walks the line so carefully so that we're not really sure how much the Riddler knows is what makes him so great. When Batman returns to the Riddler's apartment, on his social media account, he finds comments from others, including one who says, "Don't forget the cling wrap." Paul Dano actually revealed in an interview that originally he committed to wrapping his whole body in cling wrap so that the Riddler wouldn't leave any DNA at the crime scene. So Paul Dano eventually just gave up doing that because when you wrap your body in cling wrap, your skin cannot perspire. So the plan comes to fruition and the vans explode. The seawall caves, flooding the city, enacting an Old Testament disaster, a plague upon the city, wiping it clean. And this herds everyone into the high ground at Bella Real's campaign rally in the arena where the Riddler's followers plan to open fire, but Batman drops in, takes them all down, fighting alongside Selina. At one point he injects himself with adrenaline. He goes full Ralphie Parker.
You fucking nipple, damn nipple!
Good call.
Did you hear what he said?
But floodwater pours in and a loose electrical
Batman
cable dangles
story.
over the water, so Batman swings over and, using the detachable chest emblem blade that we saw him use before, he cuts the cable, knowing that his shock absorbent armor will protect him.
This whole thing about the third act feeling like it came out of nowhere, that a lot of people I hear have been saying, every time I watch this movie, and I am usually the guy to agree with an assessment like that, that's not even crossed my mind, because this whole time Riddler's been uprooting the corruption. The streets are dirty. That always read as like an Old Testament type of purging that he's doing. Clean up the streets.
Well, culminating too in an election where we're about to do this dance all over again with new officials. Like it all feels very motivating.
Yeah, so to me it made sense. It don't feel like it came out of nowhere. And I do wish at one point Batman threw the batarang. Just one time.
Yeah, it would be nice.
Just one, like,
How do you get it back after that? You run back in like, I gotta swim down there and get
the
it.
fancy knife is what he said.
I mean, I love this reveal, as it confirms my theory from over 2 years ago when I demonstrated how that chess piece could actually be made into a blade by fully making one out of cardboard and then stabbing Philip with it. And then he leads the survivors to safety. He is transformed from a shadow to be feared to a beacon of hope. And for the first time in this movie, as he looks into the daylight, he does not squint. Meanwhile, his voiceover describes how the flooded city is now at risk for a new criminal takeover as we see the Penguin gaze out at its new empire. A flooded city, perfect for a penguin, a flightless bird, but an excellent swimmer. Back in Arkham, Barry Keoghan cameos as the unscreened Arkham prisoner in the cell beside Riddler's, saying, "One day you're up, the next you're a clown," laughing maniacally while teasing a wide grin and a bit of a disfigured face. Yes, the Joker, which was further confirmed by this movie's post-credit clue, directing us back to Ra's dataalada.com, where a new cipher revealed the symbol for the letter Z, leaving the only letter left in the Riddler's alphabet, still a mystery, the letter J. Well, Mr. J, his new best friend. Actually, since then, a new cipher dropped on the site translating to, "You think I'm finished, but perhaps you don't know the full truth. Every ending is a new beginning, something is coming." Still, in all those letters, no J. Matt Reeves actually confirmed in an interview that there is a deleted scene in which Batman, after seeing the Riddler's clues pointing to him in particular, did actually meet with the Joker face to face in Arkham to consult with him. I guess kind of like Clarice Starling consulting with Hannibal Lecter, and he indicated that it might show up on the Blu-ray release.
Oh, that'd be so cool.
Do it!
I feel like that weirdly would have worked better in the movie to have that versus what felt like kind of an unnecessary setup for a sequel or or what could have been like that. Maybe that should have been your post-credit scene.
Well,
because if they had that scene before, then that wouldn't have felt like, ooh, look, we're teasing this.
Yeah. Or if you had had the initial meeting, at least that scene would have felt more motivated at the end.
Exactly. Yeah.
In the final scene, Selena says she is planning on moving to Bloodhaven, a neighboring city in the comics known as the base of operations of Nightwing, but Batman does not follow her, and she says, "Who am I kidding? You're already spoken for." Now, yes, this is something Alfred says in the Year Zero comics, but as Selena says it, her eyes dart to the left, her eye line is connecting with the bat signal in the sky. That was the first image we saw associated with Batman in the very opening minutes of the movie. While this movie at times flirted with being a bat and the cat story, I think its strongest partnership was really between Batman and Gordon.
Yes.
They were not, in this movie, the world's greatest detectives. Honestly, they screwed up constantly. Their Spanish was bad. The only way they caught the Riddler was because he surrendered to them. The city's seawall still imploded. The city's left flooded. You could argue that they completely failed their Riddler investigation. Really, the victory belongs to the Riddler here. The most corrupt leaders of Gotham are now out of the picture. But that makes Batman's victory in this movie a personal one. He started the movie blind, now he can see. By losing the battle of this movie, it sets him up to win the longer war. And it shows us that work always needs to be done. While this may be the dawn of the seventh day, it is not the time for rest. I obviously love this movie, and I love it more and more each time I watch it and the more I talk about it. Hopefully diving into the details help you appreciate it more too. Hey, a reminder that you can get this limited edition Gotham Noir shirt at newrockstarsmerch.com. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter at EAVoss. Follow New Rockstars. Subscribe to New Rockstars for more analysis of everything you love. Thanks for watching, Batman.
I call dibs on that shirt. Unless you already have it. Did you already get it? It's all good, buddy.
Just check it out. All right, guys. Well, New Rockstars, thank you so much for putting this bad boy together. Thanks for watching us. Keep a lookout for whatever Batman extra coverage we do. We'll see you guys soon.